If you love chocolate cake, you're gonna love this carob cake. It tastes rich and chocolatey, just like a chocolate cake would, and it's perfect for Valentine's Day or really any time of the year. So to make our frosting, I have some great ingredients here. This is some maple syrup. I have a 1/4 cup of this. And then I have a 1/2 cup of the carob powder, 1/2 cup of coconut oil, and I'm using the refined one that has less of a coconutty taste. And then I'm using sprouted almond butter, or you could use regular almond butter, and this is also 1/2 cup. So I'm just going to use a whisk to combine this in a bowl, but if you want to use a food processor, you could do that. And if your coconut oil has gotten stiff in the cold weather like mine was, you just want to warm it over low or medium heat just to soften it. Now this makes kind of a modest amount of frosting. If you're a real frosting lover and you want more, you can definitely double this recipe. Now this is going to seem kind of thin for frosting, but once you put it in the fridge, it's going to thicken right up. So while we're waiting for our cake to finish, we're going to put this in the refrigerator. And then before you frost your cake, obviously after you cool the cake, you'll just let it sit at room temperature for a little bit to soften up again, because it will get quite firm in the refrigerator. To make our cake, I have 2 cups of the Bob's Red Mill Paleo baking flour. We're going to add 1/2 cup of the Shiloh Farms carob powder. Okay, you go ahead and stir that, honey. My daughter is helping out today. Go ahead, honey. So we're just going to whisk these ingredients together. Making a cake like this, by the way, is super fun to do with your kids. So I've got 1 teaspoon of Bob's Red Mill baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Once you have all your dry ingredients mixed together, you're going to blend together your wet ingredients separately. Here I have 4 pasture-raised eggs. I'm going to add some avocado oil. This is the Olivado brand avocado oil. We're adding 1/2 cup. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And 1/2 cup of pure maple syrup. Now we're going to mix it together. Now we're going to pour the wet into the dry. You don't want to overmix it, but you want to make sure that you're getting all those lumps broken up. You should have a nice smooth batter. Now we're going to evenly divide the batter between 2 8-inch cake pans that have been lightly greased with avocado oil. It's just going to be a little bit of batter for each pan. You might even need to spread it out with a rubber spatula. So now we're going to take our 2 filled cake pans and put them in a 325 preheated oven, 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and bake them for 25 minutes until they're set on top. All right, so we're ready to frost our cakes. They were a little delicate coming out of the pan. If you have trouble with them coming out of the pan, a way to prevent that is to use a round of parchment paper when you bake your cakes. You could put a round of parchment paper, a circle, down on the bottom of the pan, and that does make getting them out a little bit easier. I did get a little cracking going on here, but that's okay. These cakes are pretty forgiving. Once we have them frosted, it won't be an issue at all. Speaking of frosting, this is the frosting out of the fridge. It had thickened up quite a bit. The coconut oil makes it get very firm in the refrigerator. So I just had to add a little bit of maple syrup to get the right spreadable consistency again. And now you can see that it's nice and creamy and not too thick because we don't want to tear the surface of the cake if it was too thick. Now we're going to very carefully, and using a piece of parchment paper, flip the other cake onto the bottom layer. You know, if you need to, just carefully move it over so that it's centered on top. And now's a good time to clean your plate and get rid of any of crumbs like that. Bottom layer, we're going to go ahead and frost the top layer and the sides, and we will be able to fill in any gaps that you're seeing there between the 2 layers. So yes, my plate did get messy, but I'm just gonna go around and clean that up. That's where if you do have a rotating cake stand for something like this, that's great. And you can always put a cardboard under the cake and transfer it to a plate. So those are options. So I hope you enjoyed this version of a healthy cake, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for new videos every week. Thanks for watching.